For those who haven't seen the show, what's the premise and the character that you play?
I play Paige Arkin. I'm an undercover DEA agent, so it took a little bit of work to figure out exactly what I needed to know, because there's not a lot of material out there. I mean, you can get general stories, but it's sort of that if I told you I'd have to kill you scenario, which, you know, I kind of want to go to work the next day. So it's the premise is actually based on a true story. It was back in the early 2000s, a house was seized down in Huntington Bay area, and it was, I guess it was like decorated with all of like Graceland memorabilia, and when they seized it, they were like, what do we do with all this stuff? And they ended up sending it back, but the name stuck, so the house stayed as Graceland. And undercover agents have a really short shelf life when they're at this level, because I couldn't sit down and have like girl talk lunch with you because you would suddenly be associated with whatever I was dealing with. So there's this duality where one side of it is really missing, which is the social aspect. So they figured they'd put all of us in a house together, kind of Big Brother-esque, for the support system. And so it's your lives or your life is kind of the tagline. And we're supposed to leave all of our lives at the door, and we walk in, and it's one big happy family. But it's like you going home to 6 of your coworkers that are totally messed up and dealing with heroin cases and all this stuff. So there's a lot.
Sounds incredible.
Right.
To be honest, being a DEA agent in 2014 is kind of a crazy time, because right now in the United States there's a lot of decriminalization of marijuana in the country. Is that something you guys talk about on the show, on the set? And like, what do you personally think about that? Are we going towards legal weed in the U.S.?
Well, I'm Canadian, so that happened a while ago. And it's not a big deal to us at all. I'm not as familiar with kind of the goings-on with the American side, but I know in Canada it seems to be going quite well.
Right.
It's really not a big deal there. I'm not saying that it should be smoked all the time, but it's something that, it's like, to me it seems almost like wine in Europe, where it's not that big of a deal, so people don't abuse it as much. I don't know if that's, it makes sense to me. But
legalize it.
You're all about
legalizing. Yeah, so
that's the thing. It's like, because it's one of the things that it's one of the things President Obama's actually been criticized for, because he sort of puts himself out there as a guy who smoked pot, who has had many previous precedents, but now his DEA is continuing to raid pot shops, including here, like in LA, around the country, even though they say we're going to take a hands-off approach to the war on drugs. Does the war on drugs come into the storyline at all?
It does, but we're like hardened criminals. Like, we deal with the hard stuff. So like last season was like heroin, and there was a bit of cocaine in there, but it's like the serious stuff. So our group represents the best of the best in the DEA, FBI, and ICE, and so we leave the the little. Now that it's starting to get now watch everybody else. Every DEA agent that's now doing a weed case is like, Serinda, nope.